by maidenly pride and reserve on the part of the heroine, and manly pride and reserve on the part of the hero, that forced them to hide their ardor beneath a cold and haughty exterior. The heroine's brother moved through the story like a good fairy, tender and protective towards his orphan sister, and ultimately explaining to each the burning passion of the other. It was moving and touching, and William was moved and touched. The next was a comedy. It began by a solitary workman engaged upon the repainting of a door, and ended with a miscellaneous crowd of people, all covered with paint, falling downstairs on top of one another. It was amusing. William was riotously and loudly amused. Lastly came the pathetic story of a drunkard's downward path. He began as a wild young man in evening clothes, drinking intoxicants and playing cards. He ended as a wild old man in rags, still drinking intoxicants and playing cards. He had a small child with a pious and superior expression, who spent her time weeping over him and exhorting him to a better life, till, in a moment of justifiable exasperation, he threw a beer bottle at her head. He then bedewed her bed in hospital with penitent tears, tore out his hair, flung up his arms towards heaven, beat his waistcoat, and clasped her to his breast, so that it was not to be wondered at that, after all that excitement, the child had a relapse, and with the words, "Good-bye, father, do not think of what you have done, I forgive you," passed peacefully away. William drew a deep breath at the end, and, still sucking, arose with the throng and passed out. Once outside, he glanced cautiously around and slunk down the road in the direction of his home. Then he doubled suddenly and ran down a back street to put his imaginary pursuers off his track. He took a pencil from his pocket and, leveling it at the empty air, fired twice. 2 of his pursuers fell dead. The rest came on with redoubled vigor. There was no time to be lost. Running for dear life, he dashed down the next street, leaving in his wake an elderly gentleman nursing his toe and cursing volubly. As he neared his gate, William again drew the pencil from his pocket, and, still looking back down the road, and firing as he went, he rushed into his own gateway. William's father, who had stayed at home that day because of a bad headache and a touch of liver, picked himself up from the middle of a rhododendron bush and seized William by the back of his neck. "You young ruffian," he roared, "what do you mean by charging into me like that?" William gently disengaged himself. "I wasn't chargin', father," he said meekly. "I was only just comin' in at the gate, same as other folks. I just wasn't looking just the way you were coming, but I can't look all ways at once, 'cause—" "Be quiet!" roared William's father. Like the rest of the family, he dreaded William's eloquence. "What's that on your tongue? Put your tongue out." William obeyed. The color of William's tongue would have put to shame spring's freshest tints. "How many times am I to tell you," bellowed William's father, "that I won't have you going about eating filthy poisons all day between meals?" "It's not filthy poison," said William. "It's just a few sweets Aunt Susan gave me, 'cause I kindly went to the post office for her, and—" "Be quiet! Have you got any more of the foul things?" "They're not foul things," said William doggedly. "They're good. Just have one, and try. They're just a few sweets Aunt Susan kindly gave me, and—" "Be quiet! Where are they?" Slowly and reluctantly William drew forth his bag. His father seized it, and flung it far into the bushes. For the next 10 minutes William conducted a thorough and systematic search among the bushes, and for the rest of the day consumed gooseberry eyes and garden soil in fairly equal proportions. He wandered round to the back garden and climbed onto the wall. "Hello," said the little girl next door, looking up. Something about the little girl's head and curls reminded William of the simple